If you're a film buff, you've probably seen this logo once or twice. In its absolute simplest terms, the Criterion Collection is a video distribution company that's responsible for most of the things that make watching movies at home awesome. Letterboxing, director commentary, special edition DVDs, these were all started by Criterion. And there are almost 800 films in the collection, ranging from The Seventh Seal to RoboCop. But here's the thing, not many of those releases are horror films. At my last count, there were less than 40, and that includes Silence of the Lambs. So there's a couple of films that I could definitely talk about here, like the Andy Warhol films, like Blood for Dracula and Flesh for Frankenstein. Cronenberg's The Brood just got added this year, but my friend Brian sent me the trailer for this film earlier this year, and I knew that I had to take a look at it.
The dead have taken my soul. Temptations lost all control.
Les Yeux Sans Visage, or Eyes Without a Face, follows Professor Grenier, who's a gifted surgeon whose daughter Christiane is horribly disfigured in a car accident. He promises to give her a face to replace the damaged one, but his method of doing this is by kidnapping women and removing their face, grafting it onto his daughter's. Several attempts are made, but there's no success, forcing her instead to wear a temporary mask that hides everything but her eyes. Hence the title. The police catch on to his actions and send a woman to pose as a patient to uncover his plot, but she's kidnapped just like the rest. The constant experimentation, however, drives Christiane crazy, and she lashes out, helping the woman escape and killing her father and his accomplice in the process. Most of the movie focuses on the doctor trying to perfect his surgery, called the heterograft. He does all this experimentation in secret, but he teaches about it in his lectures, and it's genuinely interesting to hear most people in the beginning praising him as a hero, saying what a fantastic job he's doing, and then when you see it in practice, you realize it's not nearly as glamorous as people were thinking. He's keeping his daughter away from the public to convince them that she's dead, kidnapping women, removing their faces, and then dumping their bodies in the river. He's got all the characteristics of an old-school horror monster. He's a murderer, a master surgeon. He lives in a castle. His meticulous nature is what I probably find the best about his character, that he goes through every failure as well as the success of his procedure, and it drives him crazy. And you do feel that he knows what he's doing is wrong, and he feels remorse for all of his actions, but he's gonna stop at nothing to see it through.
Bon Dieu, ça n'aurait pas de prix. J'ai fait tant de mal pour ce miracle.
There are more than enough scenes where you see the doctor as a human being who cares for his patients, but he obviously cares for his daughter and his procedure much, much more. Oh, and if you want a reason to hate him outright, he experiments on German Shepherds. So if you're a dog lover, there you go. There's your villain right there.
Faut que je prélève un greffon plus large. D'une seule pièce.
Now, I want to emphasize that this is from 1960. I'm not sure what it's like in every country, but in America, if your film had too much blood, you would get an X rating. Pretty much all the Hammer Dracula films did. If you were a comic book fan, we had something called the Comics Code Authority. Under these codes, comic books could not feature blood, violence, even the word horror was banned from being used. But if you look at what France was doing, this movie features a realistic-looking, graphic, excruciatingly long scene where a woman's face is cut off of her head. It takes a full 5 minutes to show the face getting cut off and removed from the body with what I can only begrudgingly call skill and grace. It's the film's most talked about scene, and it's one of the most tense things I've ever seen put on film. And naturally, it was cut to shreds for American releases. Because people found parts of a horror movie were doing too good of a job at scaring people. Now, full-on face removals aside, the scariest part of this movie is the titular Eyes Without a Face. I'll give the 15-year-olds in the audience a chance to laugh at the fact that I just said titular and move on. Christiane's mask is one of the most chilling things I've ever seen for probably the same reason that Michael Myers' mask is so iconic. It's blank. You can project anything you want onto it, which is always going to be scarier than anything the director can come up with. And even if you don't see anything, it's pretty terrifying.
Christiane, ton masque. Prends une fois pour toutes l'habitude de porter ce masque.
Tête me fait peur. Mon masque me fait plus peur encore.
The most heartbreaking thing about this movie is Christiane herself. A lot of the time in the film is focused on just her walking around the house, And you really do identify with her sense of loneliness and anguish. She hides her mask because she hates not being able to see her own reflection. And when she finally gets a face that looks decent enough to call her own, her body slowly rejects it. The scene going through the face's transformation over 1 month and how it has to be removed is one of the strongest in the film because it shows how she's become completely disheartened with the whole process. Throughout the film, she conveys all the sorrow, pain, and humiliation so perfectly using just her eyes, which is really a testament to the actress playing her. And you feel really sad for her as she slowly loses her sanity from the guilt and the constant process of having other people's faces sewn onto her head.
Il va réussir, j'en suis sûre. Vous mentez, il ne réussira jamais, je le sais. Il continuera sur moi ses expériences comme sur ses chiens. Un cobaye humain, quelle aubaine pour lui.
Now, it's not like the doctor's actions go completely unnoticed. When the first faceless girl is discovered in the water, the police don't actually believe that it's his daughter, so they decide to test out if he's a killer with the single dumbest plan imaginable. They get a girl who matches the description of several of the girls who have gone missing, and they send her off as bait. So guess what happens? She's kidnapped and made to be the next in line to have her face sewn onto Christiane's, and the police come to confront the doctor about her whereabouts, and he tells them she went to go catch a bus.
Et une fois franchi cette porte, mes malades ne m'appartiennent plus.
Oui, bien sûr, monsieur le professeur, je comprends ça.
And they believe him and leave. So you're not even going to take a look around the premises to make sure this guy is on the level. They literally say, I wanted to put my mind at ease, and the detectives say,
Eh ben, ça y est, nous en avons le cœur net.
that's it. They're done. The whole process goes like this. Have you seen this girl? Yeah, she's gone. Not my problem. Okay, have a nice night. Job well done, gents. Who's up for a martini? Thank God Christian decides to go insane at just the right moment. Otherwise, this could have ended pretty terribly. More so. Don't get me wrong, once you see what's going on here, there really is no way for this to have a happy ending. If the doctor succeeds, Christian is forced to look at another person's face anytime she looks in a mirror. The doctor fails, he's killed at least 4 or 5 girls literally for nothing. This wasn't going to end any other way. And that image of her releasing the doves and walking out of the castle is so chilling. Partially because of the obvious lack of facial expressions, but she also doesn't even look at her father's body. Almost like the emotionless mask is actually reflecting her current mental state. I am getting terrified just saying these things out loud. I'm really glad I got a chance to check this one out, but all in all, you don't hear Eyes Without a Face brought up a lot. I think it's because it was too controversial at the time of its release to gain any success, but not enough to be banned and ruin careers like Freaks was. I mean, don't get me wrong, it had its bad screenings. According to a few reports, the film premiered in Scotland, and 9 audience members fainted, prompting the director to utter the line, "Now I know why Scotsmen wear kilts." And before you think I'm siding with him, I want to point out that I look awesome in a kilt. But the movie still ended up getting a second life on video releases thanks to people like our friends in the Criterion Collection, and to this day it remains a great example of early shock cinema. It's poetically paced, it's got unbelievably strong performances, even if they're just from actress Edith Scobe's eyes, and it was incredibly influential in a lot of ways. And before you go off thinking I mean that just in horror circles, can you think of another movie with an emphasis on doves as a regularly used symbol?
Om Dominis Cabris
Where somebody has a surgery to take another person's face off.
It's like looking in a mirror, only not.
I just made that connection a couple of days ago, and I'm still not over it. John Woo, you son of a bitch.